Hi, welcome back to Tea Time with me, Amanda Prochaska. Today we're going to be talking about what it takes to be really great at project management when it comes to digital transformation. And I will tell you that having a good program manager or project manager makes or breaks your success. So we're blessed to be here today and cannot wait to get started. So grab your drink of choice and let's head on in. Before we get started today, I want to talk a little bit about what I am drinking. It is a cinnamon, lovely drink that I have today. It is something that it's a go-to of mine in the winter months. So take a sip. So good. I cannot wait to talk a little bit more about what it means to be a project manager. We are certainly blessed by having great project managers. So what does that look like as you're looking at what skill sets you need to build out on your team or maybe skill sets that you can build yourself to offer these services to companies who are going through a digital transformation? So as usual, I have 3 things that a project manager must have and 3 skills that also a project manager must possess. So let's go ahead and dive on in. So number 1, for a project manager, a must do for a project manager is to have a critical path. And it's funny, I've been involved in a couple of projects as of late with some of our customers, and this is totally overlooked. You need to understand your critical path. So if something slows you down at the beginning, you know where you're going to end. And so what is a critical path? These are the activities that must happen in sequence so that you can get from where you are today to where you're going in the future. And that might be a technology deployment. It might be an organizational redesign. It could be a merger and acquisition. All of those need a critical path. And so what you want to do is you want to, as a project manager, work with all of your work stream owners, because you might have many work streams going on, and try to understand their timing of each of those work streams. And so when you bring all of that information together, you're going to be able to overlay that together and see the sequential steps that you guys are going to need to go through as a project. And you'll start to formulate how long things are going to take and what needs to happen before other things happen on a project. And what happens typically, at least my experience, is that design always takes longer than expected. And the reason for that, I don't mind that at all, actually. I think we should plan better around that. But when we go into projects, when the technology providers go into projects, usually they try to condense the project plan as much as possible so that they can say, hey, it only takes 12 weeks to get deployed, or it only takes 4 months to get deployed, or whatever that might be. What really happens is that design usually takes longer because you have to make these really big decisions, and those decisions have ramifications on other decisions, and maybe you have some misalignment of key leaders that need to make the call. Whatever that might be, design always seems to take longer. So I use that as an example because if you don't have a critical path, if let's just say your design takes 3 weeks longer. Well, without a critical path, you have no idea what that means to go live. Can you condense something so you can keep your go live? Do you need to extend your go live by 3 weeks? Or because of that 3 weeks up front, does it now mean that you have to go live 5 weeks later? But your critical path will be able to tell you that, and without it, you're kind of flying blind. So that's number 1 must have from your project manager is a critical path. Number 2 is what I lovingly call, and a lot of consulting firms call, a RAID log. RAID log means risks, actions, issues, and decisions, okay? And most times people get kind of weird around risk and issues, okay? So risk means we might have a risk that might come up or something's going to happen, but it's not happening today, but we think it might happen, so we might need to have a mitigation plan. So that's a risk. An issue means this is happening right now and we need to fix it. Okay, so that's the difference between the two. Actions are tasks or next steps, or, like the little bottom in your agenda that says these are the action items from what we just discussed. All of those get put on this log, and your decisions that need to be made, and by whom and by when. So this RAID log really captures in everything that needs to happen on the project to progress it to the next step. It's not necessarily your project plan deliverables, right? But anything else that needs to happen to make sure that you can progress forward. And so what typically happens, a good project manager on your weekly status meeting will go through your RAID log. It holds everyone accountable to what they're supposed to be doing and the action items that they took, the decisions that need to be made, the risks that need to be mitigated. So it is a critical part of your update, your weekly update. Other critical parts of your weekly update, since we're on it right now, is all around what you're supposed to accomplish from a deliverable standpoint last week, and what you need to accomplish this coming week. So there should be, on your project plan, there should be enough detail of your week by week deliverables so you can have that very transparent conversation about, hey, this particular work stream didn't get any of their deliverables done last week. What does that mean for the project? Are we at risk? Do we need extra resources? How do we solve for that situation? That doesn't happen very often. Usually there's like most of them are done and one or two are not done, or everything got completed. So just so you guys know, but that was an extreme case. Your project leader, your project manager also, and this is number 3, also needs to have a very, very strong cadence and rigor on the project. So I just talked about the weekly project updates. I think that's really important to do. It's a cadence that everyone needs to get into. It's an expectation from all the workstream leads that they will be asked what they completed week over week, and they will be asked to have a plan for the upcoming week. They will be held accountable for their outstanding decisions or actions or risks and issues. Sorry, I might sneeze. So the cadence and rigor is very, very important. And that's just one example of having your weekly status update. You might also want to have a cadence with your steering committee, or you might want to have a cadence with other people, or with each work stream individually. But that cadence should be put together right at the beginning of the project, being very firm and straightforward around, this is how we're going to govern the project. So often I see project managers get into the project and they're like, oh, we're going to figure it out as we go, right? And which sometimes, no, it never works. It just doesn't work, because all of a sudden you're 5 weeks into the project and you don't have the basics down. You don't have that foundation. You don't have that rigor, and things are falling through the cracks, and it gets sideways really, really quickly, even on short projects. So some of the projects we work on are long, they're year long, but some projects we also do are 12 weeks. You do not have the time to lose time on those projects. So 3 things that you need from your project manager, and there's a ton of other things, but these are the 3 basics that you're going to need, is a critical path, a RAID log, and rigor and cadence around your governance of the project. And that will set you up for success moving forward. Okay, I'm going to take a sip. And let's go ahead and get into the skills. Okay, so 3 skills for your project manager that is an absolute baseline must-have. I'm not talking about everything here, just these are the basics. First one is executive presence. If your project manager is sitting in a meeting and taking notes, or just scheduled the meeting and doesn't say anything on the phone calls, they're not going to be the project manager for you. Your project manager should be leading those weekly calls. They should be pressing people and questioning people on the call around their deliverables, and if they need resources, or if there's another risk, or whatever it might be, they need to have that presence, that leadership on calls and in meetings to make sure that there is a clear accountability on this project moving forward and throughout. Okay. They also need to be, and this is number 2, they also need to be detailed. Great project managers and even good project managers, they remember the details each week. So I see this all the time on projects. You'll get a work stream lead that comes on one day or on their weekly update and they say, hey, I didn't meet the deliverable this week, but I will have it done next week. A good project manager will press on that the following week. A lot of people in the work stream leads, they'll something like that will happen and then they won't put it on the accomplishment that they actually got it done the next week, or it just falls off altogether. So a good project manager will press on that to make sure that those items that were promised to be delivered the week following actually got delivered. So that's the kind of detail that you want. They get into the whys. They ask at times 7 whys, and it's very uncomfortable, but they get very, very detailed, and you're going to want that from your project manager to be successful. And the last one that I would say, number 3 of the skills that they must have, is the ability to influence. And this is where I think our project managers at Wonder Services do a great job, particularly on Procure Tech and ERP implementations, because we know the tech. So we can talk the talk, walk the walk, and help influence the stakeholders to decisions based off of our prior experiences and based off of the knowledge we have of the systems. So your project manager doesn't always need to have that, but it helps to be able to influence. If they have other skills to be able to influence your stakeholders to come to alignment, other skills like maybe workshop approaches or other things like that they can come to the table with to drive to consensus, to drive to decisions, to make sure that everyone on the project is aligned. Those influencing skills are critically important to make sure that you can get through your roadblocks as quickly as possible. Influencing as a project manager doesn't stop within the project. It goes well beyond the project to make sure that, hey, if we need more resources to be allocated, that they can go back into IT or go back into the business and influence the decision makers there to free up resources as need be. So cannot say enough about the ability to influence. It is a critical 3rd skill set for your project manager to have. Okay, with that said, getting the right project manager is super important for your project success. Do not consider this lightly. Please take your time to get the right one. We also, in procurement and ERP implementations, and actually on some HRMS implementations, have had the lovely opportunity of being project managers for our clients. So that's always available too, whether it's with us at Wonder Services or another consulting firm. If you don't have the talent internally, please make sure that you get that talent on your team and that they fit within the criteria that I just outlined. Now, this conversation is not going to stop here. We are also would love you to sign up for our newsletter. Link is below for that. We also would love, if you liked this video, for you to hit the like button and the subscribe button so you do not miss the continued conversation about change management, project management, having the energy to lead change. That is all on this channel. So we hope that you stay tuned for our upcoming recordings and check out our previous recordings too. So with that said, cheers, have a great day, and we will talk next time.